A likely rematch is coming this November in the race for the White House, with President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump getting commanding victories on Super Tuesday. And now Mr. Trump's biggest challenger, Nikki Haley, is bowing out.
It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that.
We have a great Republican Party with tremendous talent, and we want to have unity, and we're going to have unity, and it's going to happen very quickly.
President Biden dominated the Democratic race here in California. He has 89% of the vote. The president won all Super Tuesday contests except one in American Samoa. Joining me live now is KCBS radio political reporter Doug Sovern. Doug, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Liz. Great to be with you.
All right, so what do President Biden and former President Trump have to do to keep Haley's supporters from going third party or even not even showing up at all to the polls?
You know, there's a real challenge here for both of them. I mean, roughly a third of Nikki Haley's supporters say they cannot vote for Donald Trump. So are they going to sit it out? Are they going to switch to Biden? Will they vote for Bobby Kennedy Jr. or Jill Stein or someone else? I think it's probably all of the above. Some just won't vote. Some will go over to Biden. Some will go to another person. So it's tough. I mean, Trump's going to lose some of those people, but can Biden win them over? And I think they both face really tough challenges this fall. There's a lot of dissatisfaction among their own voters. Biden's got to keep the progressives and the young voters in line, and the voters of color. And a lot of those people are disenchanted with him over Gaza and Israel. So it's going to be tough. We'll have to see which way this goes. I think in the end, a lot of Nikki Haley voters probably will vote for Trump, though.
All right, President Biden delivers his State of the Union tomorrow. What do you think voters are looking for there? It could be a potentially big night for him.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, do voters even watch the State of the Union anymore? I don't know how big the audience is. But certainly there are a lot of people who want to hear him change his tune on Israel and Gaza. There are those who just don't see him as a strong enough leader. I mean, when you talk to voters, one of the things that appeals to them about Donald Trump is they think he's strong. They think he's tough, whether they agree with him or not on policies. And they don't see Biden as a robust guy. So I think they want to see energy. They want to see robustness. They want to see strength. I think, you know, a majority of voters agree with Joe Biden on a lot of the issues. And if they knew what he's done in office, they might like him more. But he's not the salesman and the showman that Donald Trump is. And after only a few years of not having Trump in office, some of them are wistful for that. So it is a very big moment for Joe Biden and really kind of the kickoff of his general election campaign.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see in the next 8 months or so how the president will balance his political message with his current role, especially when he's getting a lot of pushback over the war in Israel.
Yeah, he really is. And, you know, he's I don't know if that he's modifying his position. His position from the beginning has been to negotiate privately and pressure Netanyahu and Israel privately and stand by an ally publicly. That hasn't served him very well with a small percentage of his party, but that percentage is growing. There's more and more dissatisfaction with how this war is being prosecuted and the U.S. role in supporting Israel. And there's tremendous pressure on him. I mean, you saw last night with Adam Schiff, his victory speech was interrupted by protesters chanting ceasefire now. This is not just an issue for Joe Biden. It's an issue for the entire Democratic Party. And if a lot of those younger voters and more progressive voters sit this out in November, that can be the difference between winning and losing.
Right. What about Donald Trump? What's his strategy in all this? He's obviously facing some legal challenges on all sides, but he's also not technically in a leadership role, though some might disagree with that statement. Does he have a little bit more freedom because he's not in any specific role?
I mean, Donald Trump is not bound by anything. He can do whatever he wants, and he always has. He'll say what he wants. He'll do what he wants. He knows he can get away with pretty much anything with his supporters. And his supporters, you know, they have this double standard. They'll forgive something that Trump does, but they will not forgive it with Biden. So, yeah, I mean, he's a loose cannon. He'll continue to do what he does. He's going to consolidate the Republican Party around him, except for, you know, maybe 20 to 25% who don't like him. But a lot of them, I think, begrudgingly will come along. And he's going to keep on attacking Biden and say that Biden is weak. And, you know, Trump wields a lot of power in that party. Look what happened with the immigration deal. He scuttled it by telling people in Congress not to vote for it because he didn't want Biden to have a win on an issue that is going to be, he thinks, can be a winner for him in November. So he will continue to do exactly what he's done and hope that Biden continues to stumble and that, you know, somehow Trump gets back in office in November.
Yeah, he's proven to be successful in that strategy, at least for now. All right, let's shift to California's Senate race to fill the seat of late Senator Dianne Feinstein. Two frontrunners, Democrat Adam Schiff and Republican Steve Garvey, are projected to face off in the November general election. Schiff is probably very grateful his opponent is Steve Garvey and not Katie Porter, the other Democratic candidates. What do you expect to see out of these two in the next 8 months?
Yeah, and we're going to talk with Adam Schiff in a few minutes on our radio show on KCBS, and we hope to have Steve Garvey on again soon. I think Adam Schiff got exactly what he wanted. He wanted Steve Garvey as his opponent. He didn't want to have to scrappy intra-party brawl with Katie Porter or Barbara Lee, particularly Porter, in November. So he elevated Garvey by running ads that framed this early on as Schiff versus Garvey. And that's what he got. And he knows in a deeply Democratic state, he has a huge advantage in fundraising and name recognition and everything. The polls show him up 15, 17 points just out of the gate over Garvey. And, I won't say that he'll coast because he's going to have to run ads and campaign, but he knows he's got a huge advantage and it would take practically a miracle for Garvey to beat him.
The war also commanding attention here, the war in Gaza I'm speaking of specifically, given Adam Schiff's congressional role and all that. Protesters, as you mentioned, interrupted his speech last night. Do you think that will remain top of mind while the two campaign across the state?
I think it will, partly because Schiff's under pressure here, and he doesn't need those voters in California as much as Biden needs them nationally in a place like Michigan. But I think Schiff will stick with Biden and toe the line and echo his policy unless and until he thinks it's hurting him significantly. Remember, Steve Garvey is far to the right of him. There's no one in California who's mad at Adam Schiff about the war who's going to prefer Steve Garvey. So he doesn't have a lot to lose there because Steve Garvey is going to be staunchly pro-Israel and anti-Hamas and not supporting the Palestinians, whereas Schiff can take a more nuanced position. So I do think it's going to be an issue. I mean, as you saw, he couldn't give his speech last night, and I'm going to ask him about that. How big an issue is this going to be for him in this campaign? But I do think that he has less to lose there in California. He can lose the 5% who might be upset about that and still win this election easily.
Doug Sovern, political reporter for KCBS Radio. So good to see you.
Thank you, Liz. Great to be with you.
All right. Should be very fun or interesting, I should say, next 8 months. Talk to you soon. All right, still ahead, public safety, one of the main issues for San Franciscans in this election. We hear from the mayor today about the new tactics to fight crime and drugs in the city. San Francisco just got the green light from voters to deploy new tactics to fight crime and the drug crisis.
It is clear from what we see in the election results last night that people also want accountability. And that is what happened with Proposition E and Proposition F. This is not about being hard on crime, it's not being soft on crime, it's about being smart and being balanced and being fair. Our plan is to try and get people the help and the support that they need and to make sure that there's accountability tied to the resources that we're providing.
Proposition E passed with a 60% vote. It gives police more powers, including access to more cameras and drones. It also lifts restrictions on police chases. The measure was slammed by a former member of the police commission.
It's not going to yield a decrease in crime. It's not going to yield an increase in community safety. Instead, it's really a mismatch of old and bad policies that this city rejected decades ago.
Meanwhile, Prop F passed with 63% of the vote. It requires mandatory drug screenings for those receiving cash assistance from the city. And San Francisco's Department of Elections says it still has to process and count more than 110,000 ballots. It expects to release the next preliminary votes tomorrow afternoon. Mayor Breed will also be holding her State of the City address tomorrow. Now to a big Bay Area congressional race, the contest to replace Representative Anna Eshoo. She is retiring after more than 3 decades in District 16, which covers parts of San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. Out of the nearly dozen candidates, former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo leads the pack, followed by Santa Clara County Supervisor Joe Simidian and State Assembly Member Evan Lowe. The top 2 candidates will head to the November runoff. Our Sean Chitness breaks down the results and has reaction from the candidates.
We have the chance to hear from the leaders in this campaign who have declared victory and expect to move forward in the general election. Here in Palo Alto, this is one of the many communities that are represented by this congressional district. Not only parts of the peninsula, but also a section of San Mateo County, as well as areas in the South Bay. And so last night, former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo, who was at the top of this pack, was declaring victory among the 11 candidates who hope to replace Representative Anna Eshoo. She's held this seat since 1992. Liccardo is really leading into what kind of member he says he will be in Congress as someone who can be productive amid all the D.C. gridlock. Now, it was a close fight for the other spot to advance to the general election. current Santa Clara County supervisor and former state senator Joe Simidian edging out Assemblymember Evan Lowe for the second place spot in this primary. Lowe, though, had not conceded as of last night. Simidian also served as mayor of Palo Alto and has decades of local experience. He is focusing, though, now on the major national issues he says he can take on as a problem solver.
On day one, we're going to restore a woman's right to choose reproductive freedom. We're going to press forward farther and faster on climate change here in the United States and around the globe.
I'm pretty familiar with the turf in Washington, D.C. And what I know is we got to get Congress focused on the problems that our residents are most concerned about, like homelessness and housing crisis and utility costs, and a whole host of challenges that it's not just us facing, but many communities throughout the country are facing.
So this race to replace Anna Eshoo, crowded in the primary, also the most expensive U.S. House seat in the country. More than $8 million spent on advertising for TV, radio, as well as what you get in the mail, and a good percentage of that going to just the two top candidates in this race.
Now, the only statewide proposition, Prop 1, is still up in the air right now. It's part of Governor Gavin Newsom's plan to get people with severe mental illness off the streets and into treatment. The votes are split nearly 50-50 at last count, with yes votes just barely edging out the no's. But we wanted to know where these votes lie right now. Look at this map. You can see all of the Bay Area is voting yes on this prop, but go inland, and it's all red for no votes, along with Del Norte, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Orange, and San Diego counties along the coast. We will continue to closely follow all of your election results right here on CBS News Bay Area and at KPIX.com.